Hello, I am Grace Garrell, and I've never gotten to speak at church before. I might break into no telling what, but I'm trying to see what hat I'm wearing today. I guess my main hat, because I'm really proud of that, I teach leadership studies at the University of Kentucky, and I have 25 angels around here somewhere that are helping that I now know what they look like when they take baths and take their caps off and all those kind of good stuff. So I'm really, really proud of my UK students that are here today. And I also now have a company called Lead with Grace because I'm a leadership geek. And so today what my role is, I'm your traffic control officer to tell you when you can get up, when you can do book signings, when you can eat lunch. And I get to boss Dr. Maxwell around, which has been a lot of fun too. That's a whole nother story. But you're here for a very special day, and I want you to commend yourselves because a lot of people don't think they still need to grow as leaders, and we all need to grow as leaders. And, you know, if you don't go away with anything else, and that's what I tell my students, and my light bulb moment with the John Maxwell stuff is when I read that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. It has very little to do with that fancy job title. And so when I decided, gee, I'd love to get the Elvis of leadership to Lexington, but how do I do that? I ran into this man named Stu Silberman. Watch it. I actually was watching the community channel, and Stu Silberman was talking about John Maxwell. So he really does respond to his emails, like he says. I bravely emailed him, and he said, sure, I'll meet with you. And he said, well, did you know this organization called KEDC is going to bring John Maxwell to Lexington? I went, oh, my gosh, Elvis is already coming to Lexington. And that is why we are here today, because KEDC, the Kentucky Educational Development Corporation, was nice enough to say, hey, we'll open this up to people besides people in education, and let's let as many people have this opportunity as possible. So right now I would like to introduce a man. He's kind of like Cher, you know, they go by just their first name. Everybody knows when you say Stu. Stu Silberman is our superintendent of schools here in Fayette County and also is on the KDC board. So I'd like for you to invite Stu up to bring greetings.
Good morning. Oh, Dr. Maxwell, we're gonna have to wake up. I'll wake him up for you right here. Good morning. Oh, that's better right there. What a great day today. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Lexington. If you're not from here, we want to welcome you to our city. It's a great place to be. And it's a great place to be in this auditorium today because it's an opportunity for over 900 people to grow as leaders. And that's why we're here. And the more that we grow as leaders, the greater and the stronger our Commonwealth will be. I'm real excited to know that we have 250 students from around central Kentucky here today, which is exciting. Some from colleges, some from our high schools, and that's great. Welcome, Dr. Maxwell, Dr. Elmore. John, I was sitting in your chair right there and thinking about you sitting there autographing folks' books and how much autographing you have to do. And I thought about a very humbling experience that I had. I was at a middle school, and the middle school was doing an awards assembly for all students who had reached proficiency in the gym. So the gym is packed with parents and grandparents and in the bleachers, and the kids are being called down to the gym floor and they're getting their certificates. And it was just a great experience to see the whole gym floor get covered with kids. And I was just standing by the door, and the principal saw me and she said, can you come over and make some closing remarks? And I said, sure. And I did that. And after it was over, the kids just surrounded me. And they wanted me to autograph their certificates, and they were coming up, and I thought, wow, this is something else. So the first little girl came up, and it was a little African-American girl, just as cute as a button, and she handed me her certificate, and I said, is there anything in particular you want me to write on here? She said, oh, no. Just put Dr. Phil. My mother's going to be so excited. So anyway, you get humbled very, very quickly. And I told that story just the other day to a group of newcomers to Lexington. And there was a lady in the group, I mean, she was just cracking up and couldn't stop. And after we were finished, she came running up, and this is on election day, actually. She said, you're not going to believe this, but we went out trick-or-treating Sunday, and my husband looked just like Dr. Phil. And we were going around from door to door, and we knocked on one door, and when we opened it, there was a little kid who answered the door, and when he looked up, he said, "Oh my God, that's Stu Silberman," right there. So, anyway, welcome, guys. This is a great, great opportunity for us to grow, and I've personally been studying Dr. Maxwell's work since 1996. Came across some leadership quotes I found on the internet, and I saw all these quotes from this guy, and I was like, who is this? And started to look into it a little bit more and found out that Dr. Maxwell is probably and I'm not going to do the introduction here, but leadership guru in this country, and started involving our leaders in our district, and ever since have been utilizing his work and his material to help grow folks in our district. And then every new superintendent who comes into the state experiences a little bit of Dr. Maxwell's work, and we're going to hear from Dr. Elmore today too. So with that, I'm going to be quiet and let Grace come on back up. Thank you, guys.
And we are still going to have people rolling in. We actually had a traffic jam. People had to park at Value City to come over to see you today, so they might do a little shopping on the way. So welcome those of you that are strolling in. And we have students coming as far as Muhlenberg County, so they got up very, very early this morning. The next person I'm very pleased to introduce to you is Warren Rogers. Warren, if you want to come strolling up this way. Warren is another one of the reasons we're here today, because Dr. Maxwell's not too cheap, and Tim's not either. So we need a little help on that. This is the servant leader that you're looking at right here, ladies and gentlemen. He has a wonderful company called W. Rogers and is very passionate about servant leadership. UK grad. He's very involved with our Leadership Lexington program and has supported a lot of the leadership programs here in the Lexington area. But I'm gonna tell one on you, students. He came to my class one semester to speak, and he said the first leadership role he ever had, Nick, you will really appreciate this, is his fraternity gave him the keys to the beer machine, and he was in charge of that, and he was very proud of that. So with that fine introduction, and you need to ask him to see pictures. He just became a grandfather. So Warren Rogers, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you, Grace. And I was only 19 years old with the key to the beer machine. I wasn't even old enough to buy the beer, so that's trust. It is a pleasure for me to be with you all today and to have this opportunity to introduce Dr. Maxwell. W. Rogers Company, we've been in business for 40 years. We're a general contracting firm. We build water treatment plants and wastewater treatment plants. If you live in Kentucky or Tennessee and you drank water this morning, we probably built the plant that water came from. If you did the other thing, we probably built the plant that treated where that water went eventually, okay? Lovely thing to think about this morning. Why in the world would W. Rogers Company, a contractor, be concerned about leadership and leadership development? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, we've been in business for 40 years, and we're going to be in business from now on. We're very, very interested in developing leaders for the next generation of W. Rogers Company, and many of those are with us this morning. Very important to us. The second thing is, and I know that you know, that when you've had experienced good leadership, it's amazing what can get done. Conversely, when you've been a victim of failed leadership, that can be a very, very bad experience. So leadership and leadership development is very important to us, and that's why W. Rogers Company sponsors this program. We sponsored Dr. Maxwell 3 years ago when he was here, and just this morning, my Leadership Lexington group is meeting on the other side of town on this day, and I was over there this morning kicking off that program before coming here today. So leadership is very important to us, and that's why it's important that we hear from Dr. Maxwell today. Dr. Maxwell is the most prolific author of leadership books on the planet. He has 3 books that have sold over 1 million copies each. He is always continuously sought out by Fortune 500 companies. He has speaks regularly to such diverse groups as the Wall Street Journal, the NFL, all kinds of organizations. And many times in church settings like this, or in large community settings, and any and all places where leadership development is a priority. So that is why it is important for us to hear from today. And on behalf of W. Rogers Company, it is indeed my pleasure to introduce and present Dr. John Maxwell.
Thank you, Wayne.
Yes, sir.
Thanks a lot for having me. Thank you. Thank you very much, Wayne, and thank you for... What's it? Warren, I'm so sorry. My name's Ralph. Thank you so much for the support that you've given us. Good morning. Oh, we can do it better than that. Good morning. Nice to see you. Let me take a little survey. How many of you are in the educational community? Would you raise your hand? Terrific. How many of you are in the business community? Would you raise your hand? Good. How about the church community? Would you raise your hand? Good. How about the government community? And therein is the problem. Right. Do I need to say anything else? We're having Leadership Day, a personal growth day, and education community's here, the church community's here, the business community's here. Where in the heck is the government, huh? I'm having fun with you. I'm kidding, but I really am delighted to be here, and I'm especially grateful to come because of the tremendous emphasis of the educational community on leadership. Because I happen to believe that if this country is going to turn around and it's going to change because in the educational systems, we began to teach values, we began to teach things that are really going to make a difference in kids' lives, getting them when they're very young. And it's so great to see so many students here. How many of you are students either in high school or in college? And let's see that. Let's give them a hand. Look at all that. Oh, look at them over here. A bunch. Welcome. Welcome. My background, I started off, I have a Bachelor of Theology degree out of college, and I started off as a pastor. And had then a master's and then a doctorate out of seminary. And I used to do a lecture that was very popular across America called Four Things Seminary Never Taught Me. And the whole thesis of the lecture was the four things I need to be a success, no one ever taught me in school. They never taught me how to get along with people. I never had a relationship course in high school or college, not one. Never had a relationship course. Never had a course on how to get along with people, how to do problem solving with individuals, conflict resolution. Never had any of that. Never had a relationship course. The second thing is attitude, how to think correctly. The greatest gap between successful and unsuccessful people is the thinking gap. Trust me on this. Successful people think totally different than unsuccessful people, always have, always will. And no one ever taught me how to overcome adversity. No one ever taught me how to have an attitude that would allow me to make choices within me regardless of the circumstances outside of me. And no one ever, I never had a class in high school, college, 7 years college and graduate work. Never had a class on the attitude. Never had a class on leadership. Never had a class on how to lead people, how to influence people, how to cast vision. How to help people get from one point to another point, how to lift people from where they were to where they would like to become. Never had a class on that. In fact, I'm so glad Grace, of course, always hosts me and does such a great job, and I thank you. But she put in my packet, she teaches leadership at the University of Kentucky, and she put in my packet lessons that her kids had, or papers that her kids had done on the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. And I spent probably an hour yesterday reading the papers and to catch the insight from these college kids on leadership. And I thought, wow, I would have loved to have a class in college or at the university on how to lead. And think about it. My responsibility as soon as I got out of college was to lead, and no one ever taught me how to do it. And the fourth thing that you've got to do to be highly successful is you've got to learn how to develop people. You've got to learn how to equip people, train people, develop them. I never had a course on that. Not one course. In fact, in my world, the church world, the responsibility that I had was, if you look at the scriptures, it says that what we were supposed to do is to equip the saints to do the work of the ministry. In other words, we're to equip people, and I never had a course on how to equip people. It just blows my mind. Went through all that schooling, had a lot of good classes, had a lot of wonderful memories, got good grades, but I never had a class on any of those 4 subjects. And yet I would tell you today without any question that if you can relate well with people, if you have an attitude that can overcome adversity, especially in this kind of an economic climate, if you know how to influence and lead people well, and you can train and equip people, which is where all the compounding of time, success, and money happens, that no matter what area of profession you're going to be in, you're going to be successful. And that's why I congratulate you, because you're one of the few places that I go in a year, and I have the privilege of going to a few others. But you're one of the few places I go every year where the educational community says we've got to put some things in the hands of our students. Of course they need their disciplines in the college and high school and university setting. Of course they need those. But we've got to put some things in their hands that are going to really make a difference for these kids, that'll help them when they get out of school to really be successful. I have a wonderful friend with me today, Jerry Anderson. He's a very successful business person. But he has a wonderful work called LERED, and it's a leadership organization that teaches leadership not only internationally but in the States. And literally the turnaround in Colombia over the last 20 years, the United Nations said in the last 10 years, Colombia has had the greatest turnaround of any country in the world. And for 20 years, his organization has been working in Colombia teaching values. They teach nothing but value-based leadership in small group roundtable discussions. And I look at somebody like him and what he's doing, and I'm saying, this is making a difference in nations. They're teaching it in some of the largest police departments in America, the Philadelphia Police Department. They're teaching their values. And Jerry, I want you, if you'll do me a favor, I want you to stand, because when we break in about an hour and 10, 15 minutes, give him a hand, would you? This is Jerry Anderson. He's my friend. And if Jerry, if you wouldn't mind, if you just kind of hang there during the break, if you're an educator, or if you're in the business community, if you're in government, and you would like to say, boy, I'd like you, tell me a little bit about how we can teach value-based leadership in whatever you happen to be a part of or leading. Just catch Jerry down here, and he'll take 5 minutes and talk to you about it, and you'll be very greatly pleased. But here, what I'm saying to you is, I'm just so honored to be here because of your commitment in the educational community to really make a difference, and so I congratulate you very much. Now, my name's John. What's your name? No, we'll do it again. Okay. My name's John. What's your name? Nice to meet you. My wife, Margaret, and I have been married for 41 years. We have 2 children. They're both married. We have 5 grandchildren. You just had your grandbaby 2 weeks ago, didn't you say? Your first one, right? Yeah. We have 5 grandchildren. How many grandparents are here? Oh, my goodness. Okay. You that have your hands up, you know what I'm about to say. There's nothing like being a grandparent, is there, huh? I mean, you think you love your children, then you get your grandchildren. It's a whole different world. And you that aren't grandparents, you don't understand. This is just babble to you. And you know I don't understand. You don't care. But trust me, there will be a day you'll understand what I'm about to say. Grandchildren are God's gift to you for not killing your children. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's true. That's true. Because, I mean, all of us have, how many of you have teenagers? Okay, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, every day you ask your question, shall I let them live? You know, and every day you kind of go, should I not? What would you do? And I want to encourage you. If you have teenagers, I just want to encourage you, let them live. Let them live. I know it doesn't make sense. You all right, lady? I know it doesn't make sense, but let them live, because if you let them live, someday they'll give you grandchildren. And then you'll understand why you had them. You'll understand. You'll understand. And when you have that first grandchild and you hold that baby in your arms, you don't need anybody to tell you. You'll look at that baby and you'll say, this is the smartest, most beautiful baby ever born. And no one has to tell you. No one, you know. And then you'll look at that grandbaby and you'll ask a question. You'll say, why did intelligence skip a generation? Yeah. I was telling that story at a large convention recently, and it was dark out there, and I forgot that my son Joel was in the audience. And I told the story about why did television skip a generation. So when I went back to the green room, he was waiting on me. And I said, Joel, you know I was out there. I was having fun with the people. We're just kidding, just having a good time. And he looked at me, shocked me. He said, no, Dad. He said, you know what? I think you're right. I said, you think I'm right? I said, yeah. He said, I think you're right. I said, you do? He said, yes. In fact, he said, just last week, Grandpa and I had that very same discussion. Huh? I'm 63. When you become 60, you become a philosopher of life. I mean, you just do. You don't even know anything. You don't understand life until you're about 60. And all of a sudden, one day it clicks. You just understand life. And all of us ask questions about life. And I brought with me a beautiful piece that kind of explains life. On this card, I'm going to explain every question you've ever had about life. Isn't this huge? I mean, it's just in 2 minutes. Every question you've ever had about life, it's all going to be explained right here, okay? I'm going to read it to you. On the first day, God created the dog. God said, sit all day by the door of the house and bark at anybody that comes by. I'm going to give you a lifespan of 20 years. The dog said, that's too long to be barking. Give me 10 years and I'll give you back the other 10, and God agreed. On the second day, God created the monkey. God said, entertain people, do monkey tricks, make them laugh. I'll give you a 20-year lifespan. The monkey said, how boring. Monkey tricks for 20 years? I don't think so. Dog gave you back 10, so that's what I'll do too, okay? And God agreed. On the third day, God created the cow. God said, you must go out in the field with the farmer all day long, suffer under the sun, have calves, give milk to support the farmer. I'm going to give you a lifespan of 60 years. Cow said, that's kind of a tough life. You want me to live for 60 years? Let me have 20. I'll give you back the other 40. God agreed. On the fourth day, God created man. He said, eat, sleep, play, marry, enjoy your life. I'll give you 20 years. Man said, what? Only 20 years? I'll tell you what, I'll take my 20, add the 40 the cow gave you back, the 10 the monkey gave you back, the 10 the dog gave you back, that makes 80. Okay, God said, you've got a deal. So that is why the first 20 years of our lives, we eat, sleep, play, and enjoy ourselves. For the next 40 years, we slave in the sun to support our family. For the next 10 years, we do monkey tricks to entertain the grandchildren. And for the last 10 years, we sit on the front porch and we bark at everybody that goes by. You've just had life explained to you. Leaders are known by the fact that they cast vision. Leaders know the way, they go the way, and they show the way. They know where they're going. They go there themselves. They wouldn't ask anybody to go where they hadn't gone. In fact, they take people with them. They know the way, they go the way. And they model, they are examples. They show others where to go. They offer to go with them. That's what leaders do. You've never known a leader that was successful that didn't have a vision. You've never known an organization that you ask them, how have you done so well? And they would say, well, I think the key to our success is we've never had a clue where we're going. You've never known a business that just said, we owe all of our success to the fact that we have never had a plan. You see, the DNA of a leader is vision. They see it, and they have a passion. They have a passion for all the people that are in their group to see it also. And they're going, and they have a passion to take people with them. I had a leader recently who had a big project in front of him, and he was kind of discouraged. And he said, John, he said, boy, it's not going well. I said, my people aren't ready. And I smiled, and I said, of course they're not ready. I've never known people ready. That's your job. That's why they call you leader. It's your job to get them ready. It's your job to move them. In fact, quit complaining about they're not ready. The reason if they're not ready, that's the reason you got a job. If they were ready, they wouldn't need you. And the success of a leader is gauged by his or her ability to move people in a positive direction. That's the bottom line success of a leader. When you get done evaluating a leader, you evaluate a leader based upon his or her ability of taking people from where they are to where they need to be the people that they need to be in the organization they need to be. That's how you judge the success of a leader. So without a vision, you can't lead. You're not even qualified to lead. But without the ability to take people and get them to buy into the dream and go with you in the dream, that's what qualifies you as a leader. Now, 2 questions I need to ask you today. One is, do you have a dream? Do you have a vision? Do you know where you want to go? And the second question is, are you taking people with you? Now, it's possible that you can have a dream yourself and just go by yourself. A lot of people do solo trips in life. Okay? So it's possible that, yes, I have a dream, and yes, I'm going toward my dream, but no, I'm not taking anybody with me. In other words, you may want to be a successful person, but you're not going to maybe be a successful leader. But leaders, they're not only going to their finish line, but they're taking people with them. And let me also say this. Because you're leading people, leaders never finish first in a speed race. They're never the first to cross the finish line. The person that's first to cross the finish line is the person that runs alone. Because if you're bringing people with you, one of the first things you realize is you automatically slow your journey when you bring people with you. Isn't that true? Not everybody runs as fast as you can, and if you're a leader, you got to keep them with you. So you even slow down your capacity for getting to your destination so that you can take people with you, because you identify a leader by the fact they not only have a vision, you identify a leader by the fact that people are with them. That's how you identify a leader. People are around a leader because leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So, let's talk about your dream today. How many of you would raise your hand this morning and say, John, I have a dream? Let me see your hands. Got a dream. Wow, that's good. Practically everybody had their hands up. I've got a dream. Now, what's amazing about the dream is that dreams bring great inspiration to us. Dreams inspire us. Nothing inspires a person more than to share what their dream is. In fact, a lot of times when I'm meeting a person for the first time and we're going to have 20 minutes, I'll sit across the table, maybe we're having a brief lunch or something, and I'll say, tell me about your dream. What would you like to accomplish? And all of a sudden, they're infused with energy because they're beginning to talk about what they would like to see happen in their life, where they'd like to go, what they'd like to become. You see, dreams just infuse energy into a person's life. Now, here's what's interesting. Nothing creates hope as much as a dream. Nothing. Nothing inspires like a dream. And yet, how interesting it is, although a dream inspires great hope in an individual's life, nothing is as frustrating as not having the dream fulfilled in your life. Something that gives so much hope brings so much frustration and discouragement. Nothing gives a person more desire to be something and inspiration than the dream. And yet I watch a person that doesn't reach their dream, or a leader that doesn't bring their people to that fulfillment of that vision. Nothing is more frustrating to the people or the leader. Now here's what's very interesting. 90% of the people who have a dream never achieve it. They never get there. And that issue, for the last 10, 12 years, has caused me to do a lot of thinking and ask a lot of questions and do some research. Why is it that so many people have a dream and they've not achieved it? Why is it that so many leaders have a place where they'd like to take their people, but somehow they never quite get there? I wrote a book a couple of years ago called Put Your Dream to the Test. Okay? This is a book that I had wanted to write for a long time, because I thought if I can ever help people not only understand how a dream works, but if I can ever help people succeed and reach their dream, this will be a wonderful gift that I can give to others. And I would like to, in this little time that I have with you in this session, I would like to talk to you about how to put your dream to a test to make sure that it is a valid dream that you can achieve in your life. How many of you would like to test your dream, and how many of you would like to pass it and achieve it? Let me see your hand. You want to achieve your dream? Okay, so look at your neighbor and tell them to take very good notes, because they need this. Would you do that, huh? All right, you tell them they need this. Okay, you got it? You got it. You're ready, aren't you? Now, in doing the research for the book, I came to a conclusion that was it was eye-opening to me. Maybe it will be to you, maybe it won't be, but it was really helpful to me. In working on this book, I came to the conclusion that there was a reason that people don't achieve their dreams. And the main reason that people don't achieve their dreams is because they lack enough valid reasons to achieve it. Now, the dream journey is very difficult. Isn't that true? Can't be achieved quickly. It's uphill. What did Paul Harvey say one time? He said, you can tell you're on the road to success. It's uphill all the way. You with me? So the first thing I would say, if you're coasting and it's just easy and you're kind of just saying, oh my goodness, I'm just making great progress here, I would just have you know you're on the wrong road. Okay? Because success is uphill all the way. There's nothing easy about achieving a dream. There's nothing easy about bringing people to achieving the dream together. There's nothing easy about this. And so what happens is, if I only have one reason to achieve a dream, if I just got a reason that I'm kind of going for this dream, then I can tell you life is so difficult that very quickly that reason will get knocked out of me, and I'll lose energy, and I'll lose steam, and I'll lose resolve, and I'll just give my dream up. People give their dream up every day because they don't have enough valid reasons. In fact, here's the thesis of the lesson. The more valid reasons you have to achieve your dream, the higher the odds are that you will. I'll repeat it because not enough of you wrote it down. But it's okay. I can repeat it. The more valid reasons you have for achieving your dream, the higher the odds are that you will. Very simple. If you have one valid reason to achieve a dream, very low odds of ever achieving it. If you had 4 valid reasons for achieving your dream, you've already increased your odds of getting there. If you had 7 or 8 valid reasons for achieving your dream, you've got great odds of getting there to that dream. The more valid reasons you have for achieving your dream, the higher the odds are that you will. So I began to do, when I was doing work on the book, I say, okay, what are valid reasons for achieving a dream? And I began to write them down, and I got to a group of, I was over 30. And I began to condense it and press it over the next couple of months. And I finally came up with 10 real valid reasons to achieve your dream, of which I put them in the form of questions, 10 questions to ask yourself. Hence the title of the book, Put Your Dream to the Test. Now, I'm going to teach. I'm not going to give you all of the valid reasons. I'll give you maybe 3 or 4 in this setting. But somewhere over in this section here, I have some books. And one of the books I have is the book called Put Your Dream to the Test. And I would just really encourage you, if you have a dream that, it's in your mind, it's worth pursuing. You really want it. Do yourself a gift, or if you've got somebody that has a dream that isn't here today, do a gift for somebody else. I would encourage you to get this book today. I'll be up here during break time. I'll sign today. During any breaks, I'll sign the book. Put your dream to the test. Because these are the 10 questions that you need to ask yourself. And if you want to develop a group, if you have young leaders and you have like a small group or something, we also have all of my dream training on DVD with Q&A, workbooks, the whole process. And you can get it all as a package if you are desirous to reach your dream and help others reach their dream. Okay. Now, let me ask you some questions that you need to ask yourself. Question number 1. The first question is the ownership question, and the ownership question just simply asks, is my dream really my dream? Now that's a great question. Is my dream really my dream? There are 10 questions that you ask yourself, but this is the first question you should ask yourself. Before you go anywhere else about where you're going or where you want to take people as a leader, you got to ask yourself, is my dream really my dream? And I would say to you that most of us in this room, if not all of us, the first dream we had wasn't ours. When we're small and we're growing up in our home, guess who was the first person to put a dream in us? Our parents. Isn't that true? Your mom and dad, they sit down and they look at you and they've got high hopes for you and they begin to talk to you about things they wish you would become or things they would like to see you be. My parents did. My first dreams weren't my dream. I was a kid. They were my parents' dreams. I still remember, I was 7 years old. My parents sat down with me one day. I can just remember this very well. And they said to me, they said, John, we've been talking. We think you are musically gifted. And we'd like to give you piano lessons. Now, this is the first dream that I had. It wasn't my dream, it was my parents' dream. They looked at me and they thought I was musically gifted. And so I went down a block and a half to Wayne Reno's house. He was a piano teacher, and I took piano lessons. Now, I don't think I took piano lessons very long at Mr. Reno's house until he understood that I wasn't musically gifted. But he was a nice man, and I learned the scales and all that stuff, and I took piano lessons. And then I remember I remember when I found out I wasn't musically gifted, it was my first piano recital. You know, the piano recital when the parents come and the friends come and you play that little piece on the piano. And so I had my little piece on the piano. It was a hard piece, I thought, for me. And I, be honest with you, I was kind of proud. I thought I did a good job with it. And everybody clapped. Everybody was so nice. I sat down. I thought, well, it was good. And right after me, Elaine Mosley got up. And Elaine Mosley hadn't been taking piano lessons near as long as I had been. And she played a piece that was 4 times harder than mine. And I remember sitting in my little seat as a kid, and when I heard Elaine Mosley play the piano, I said, this is not my gift. In fact, not only did I say that day, so did everybody else at the piano recital, except Two people. There were two people that never caught on. Do you want to guess who they are? The same two people that didn't catch on in your home. My mom and my dad, they were so thrilled. We got done. We had a party. They went home and we had a party to celebrate average. We did. We just had a party. Now, they didn't say it was average. They thought I was really good. But I knew we were celebrating average. We really were. Wasn't my gift. It was a dream that my parents had for me. I can still remember when I went into the 7th grade, I wanted to play ball. And I couldn't play ball and be in the band. They wanted me to be in the band. We had a kind of a, I don't know what you'd call it, for a kid, a kind of like a come to Jesus meeting. The only problem, Jesus wasn't there. Trust me. And I sat down with them and I said, hey, I don't want to play music. I want to play ball. And they were great. They were great. And I played ball. But here's what I'm saying to you. I'm saying all of us, we start off life pretty much living someone else's dream. Now, here's what I want you to understand. Because we start off living someone else's dream, the odds are high that we're comfortable living someone else's dream. And the odds are high that as adults, we still may be living someone else's dream. Wow. Maybe it's our spouse's dream. Maybe it's our sibling's dream. I don't know. Maybe it's a very close friend's dream. But the question I've got to ask you today is your dream really your dream? And you've got to settle that issue, because there's no sense with going to the other 9 questions. There's no sense going inside yourself until you answer that question, because here's what I'm here to tell you. I can tell when a person owns their dream. I can tell when the dream is your dream, and I can also tell when you're living someone else's dream. Because, you see, when you own the dream, you go from being a believer in the dream to becoming a buyer of the dream. And there's a world of difference between believing in a dream and buying a dream. You see, if you believe in a dream, you still have reasons sometimes to give it up if it becomes difficult. But when you buy it, you can't give it up. You own it. It's yours. It's not anyone else's. And you can very quickly tell when a person has bought the dream. Because if you've bought the dream, one of the ways I can tell a person has bought the dream is very simply, when you buy the dream, the day you buy your dream, you quit making excuses. You quit telling people why you haven't, couldn't, shouldn't, didn't. Hello. Well, if I would have done, well, but, and, well, if, and, well, but, and, well, but, and if, but if, and if, but. If ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. Okay? Okay? When you own your dream, you stop making excuses for it. And let me tell you something else about when you own your dream. A lot of times when I go to a conference or somewhere, I'll rent a car. And let me tell you something about renting a car. You don't take pride in a rented car. I mean, you don't. When you go rent your car, you don't say, "Oh, before I get in it and show you my driver's license, I just want to take a camera. I want to take a picture. Whew, this is my rented car. Wow. For the next 2.5 days, I'm going to have this rented car. Oh, okay. Here, would you take it? I would like to stand beside the car, if you don't mind. I'd like to take it. No. You don't take pride in a rented car. You don't, the couple of days after having the rented car, you don't look at it and say, oh, it's getting dirty. I'm going to spend a couple of hours. I need to wash this car. You don't wash rented cars. Well, you know what? It needs a wax job. I think I'll wash it. I'm just going to take the afternoon off. I know I got some business to do, but this car needs wax. You don't wax and buff and wash a rented car. It's a rented car. It's not yours. You don't care. In fact, I always have a goal on my rented car. Trash them before I bring them back. I want them dirty on the inside. I want them dirty on the outside. I just stop and get papers out of garbage cans and just put them in there. Just because because when I'm done with a rented car, what do? I walk away. I don't look back. Been there, done that. On with my life. But when you buy it, your level of commitment to it is entirely different. And when you buy a dream, and when I buy a dream, one of the things we'll do is when you buy your dream, catch this is very important, will be willing to bet on yourself. When you buy a dream, you'll be willing to invest in that dream. You'll be willing to put money on the line on that dream. Oh, you will. When it's yours, you'll bet on the dream and you'll bet on yourself. I'm always amazed at these people who have a dream and they're going around looking for a sponsor. I have a dream. Would you pay for it? Oh, I have a dream. Would you be in my support group and do kumbaya and light a fire in the fireplace with me and kind of help pick me up every time I fall and kiss my Allie? When you buy the dream, when it's really yours, when you really own that dream, you will go up and you will bet on yourself. You will say, this is my dream, and I'm going to lay down my time, I'm going to lay down my commitment, I'm going to lay down my money, I'm going to lay down my effort, I'm going to lay down my focus. It's your dream. I know that to be true. Because when I graduated from college, I went to a little town, just a little town in southern Indiana called Hillham. You don't even want to go to Hillham. You've never heard of Hillham. If you went to Hillham, you wouldn't know you were in Hillham. 11 houses, 2 garages, 1 country store. 2 garages, 1 country store. Their idea of progress was moving backwards slowly. 3 people the first Sunday in the church. 2 of them were my wife Margaret and me. I was so proud of that place. I'm telling you, I was so proud. You can't even imagine. The building was over 100 years old. Roof sagged, walls bowed. Seated about 80 people. Just a little country church. When my friends from college, Wes Meadows is here today. Wes went to, where are you, Wes? Wes went to college with me. Wes and Vicki had to do this. When my friends would come out to see Margaret and I when we were first married, they'd pull up in front of the house, and I wouldn't even let them get out of the house or get out of the car. I'd jump in the car with them and say, before you go in the house, I got to show you my church. And I'd lead them down, and we'd go pull into this little gravel parking lot that you could put 30 cars in, and we'd walk up to this building that's over 100 years old and just an old building, and I'd open up the door and I'd take them in to see my church. The great thing about it is once you open the door, they didn't have to even go in. They could see it all right there. I was so proud. It was my dream. I was living the dream. You didn't need to feel bad for me. I just had dreams of helping people and lives being changed and growing. You see, if it's your dream, you don't need an ideal situation. If it's your dream, it doesn't have to be big. It's just got to be. But listen to me. It's got to be yours. No one else's. I'd been there a few months, and a guy came to me in a church bulletin. He said, I was just up in Chicago at this huge church, and he showed me this church with about 3,000 people out in front of it. And he said, all these people go to this church. I said, could I have that? Could I have that bulletin? He said, yes. And I took that, and I got a folder, and I put Scotch tape, and I put it on a folder, and put it at my dream to build a big church. And then I found out what the 10 largest churches in America were, and I thought, I need to talk to those pastors and find out how they did it. So I'd call them on the phone. Well, they didn't know who I was. They're not going to see me. I'm in Hillham. Get the picture. So I'd tell them, I'd say, you don't know who I am, but you got a big church, and I'd love to talk to you. And I know you're very busy. And I thought, how can I get their attention? And this is back in 1970, 71. And I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you $100 if you'll give me 30 minutes of your time. 8 of them said no. 2 of them said yes. And so I made a trip to those 2 that said yes. And I walked into their office, and I had 5 pages, pre-written legal pages full of questions to ask. Because I only had 30 minutes. I didn't want to mess up and kind of ooh and awe and kind of try to think in front of them. I had my questions, and I pulled my tape recorder out, and I turned on the tape recorder, and I fired at those questions as fast as I could. And of course, I only didn't even get through the first page before my 30 minutes were up. And I thanked them, turned everything off, put it in my briefcase, stood up, reached in, pulled out the $100 check, handed it to them, shook their hand, said, thank you very much. And then I would go out in the parking lot, and I'd sit in my car, and I'd bawl like a baby. I'd say, man, God, if you could do that for him, you could do that for me. What was I doing? I was laying money down, betting on myself. If you won't invest in you, why should anyone else invest in you? Talk to me. Hello. I'm looking for a sponsor. I'm looking for somebody to pay my way. Pay your own way. I'm so excited about students being here. The best thing I can say to you today is don't expect anyone else to give you anything. Pay your own way. Bet on yourself. Let me tell you something that's interesting. Those 2 that did see me, they started talking to the other 8 pastors of the big churches. Within 4 years, I had been in all the 10. Let me tell you something about the dream. Once you start taking the steps in the dream and you start buying and investing in yourself and believing in yourself, once you do all that, all of a sudden the doors begin to open. See, here's our problem with the dream. We stand still and say, I'll move when the doors open. And the doors don't open when you move. You've got to move the doors. Nothing happens until you begin to take the process and the steps to going after your dream. And by the time I was 29, I had the 10th largest church in America. I bought my dream. If you don't have a dream that's worth investing in, buying, committing to, don't worry about the other 9 questions. You'll never get to where you go. Because can I tell you, in interviews, I've never heard an interview of a successful person and they'd say, how did you get to the top of this organization? I've never heard a successful person say, you know what? I have no clue. Honest to God, I just woke up the other day. And here I was. It's the most amazing things. In fact, I'm kind of afraid of heights, to be honest with you. Somebody must have carried me, or, wow, there's an elevator, escalator. Is my dream really my dream? Question number 2. Before we go to question number 2, look at question number 1. Put a number beside the question, would you? 1 meaning I have no idea what my dream is, and I don't own it, don't even rent it. To a 10, yes, I am totally bought into my dream. From a 1 to a 10, where are you on that scale? Is my dream really my dream? The ownership question. Question number 2 is the clarity question. Question number 2, simply ask, do I clearly see my dream? Do I clearly see it? It's impossible to get excited about something you can't see. It's impossible to get excited about something you don't know. So when I look at my dream, is there some clarity in it? Now let me define clarity for you. In the beginning, you don't see the whole dream. So I didn't say, do you see everything about your dream? It's impossible to see everything about your dream. You see, the dream develops as you take the journey. So you don't clearly see everything. My goodness, I've had a lot of surprises in my dream journey as the picture unfolded, as I made progress. I can't believe all the things that were part of the dream. But when you start the dream, you've got to have a piece that's clear. A piece. You've got to be able to see something clear enough that you're now motivated to start in that direction. Now, the good news is, as you proceed in the direction, the dream becomes closer and the dream becomes clearer. But in the beginning, you've got to have a piece of it that's clear. So even if you're young, you don't know everything, you don't need to see everything, but you have something in your heart that's clear that you just say, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to become. It's like my 7-year-old grandson, John. He was named after me. We have 5 grandbabies, 3 girls, 2 boys. John was the first boy. He was named after me. He gets the inheritance. Margaret and I took the kids on a trip this year to Chicago for a couple of days of museums, and Margaret we both love history, and she loves to teach, and so we just planned their 2.5 days, and we just, we saw the Sue Rex, the dinosaur, and we just had a fabulous time with the kids, and on the last day, I sat down with them, and I said, what would you like to be? What's your dream? Now, they're 10, 7, 6, and 3. 3-year-old we didn't take on the trip. He'd want to climb the dinosaur or something. But the other 4, I said, what would you like to be? And so we just talked about it for a little while, the kids. And about 3 days later, John came to me and said, Papa, they call me Papa. They call Margaret Mimi. In fact, Margaret picked the names. Before we had our first grandchild, she asked me whether the grandchildren were going to call us. I said, well, I don't have a clue. I mean, guys don't sit around saying, what are they going to call me? Well, she said, I've been thinking about it. She said, I want them to call me Mimi. I said, well, I like that. But she said, I don't want them to call you Pee-Pee. I said, oh. You all right, lady? Here. You may be going on trips with me. You keep this up, girl. And I said, well, I don't want them to call me Pee-Pee either. So they call me Papa. About 3 days later, John came to me and says, Papa, I know what I want to do when I get big. I said, what do you want to do when you get big? John said, well, I don't know what I want to do, but it has to involve a computer. Now he's just getting a piece. Just a piece. Just a piece. Now what am I saying to you? You got to have something that is clear. And let me tell you what clarity does. Clarity allows you and I to prioritize. Priorities are always a result of clarity. People don't prioritize what they don't understand. People don't prioritize what is fuzzy. So when you see a person saying, here are the 4 things I need to be sure that I do in my life, they're saying they need to do 4 things for sure in their life. They prioritize it because they see something clear that they got to have. The clarity gives you the appetite to prioritize. So when I ask you, do you clearly see your dream? The reason I ask you the question is, the clarity of that piece of the dream that you can see gets you moving. And as you start moving, as the picture starts to get clear, you begin to prioritize how you're going to reach and achieve your dream. A couple of years ago, In fact, just about right now, 1st of December, a couple of years ago, I had a heart murmur. I had just a rhythm issue. And I have a cardiologist friend, and so I went over to see him, and he put all the stuff on me. He said, "Oh, John," he said, you're out of rhythm. Your heart's out of rhythm. And he said, I'm going to put you in the hospital for a couple of days, and we'll get you fixed up, and, we'll get you back in rhythm. So he told me which hospital to go check in. He said, I'll come and see you this afternoon. So I went over there, and I checked in. And I knew, back then I weighed about 40 pounds more than I weigh now. And I knew that when he came to see me, that he was going to address my weight. And because I'm a leader, I anticipate all these things. So I thought, when he comes to see me this afternoon, I will bring the subject up so he'll know that I know. Because leaders know. So when he came that afternoon, we started talking. We hadn't talked very long, and I said, Dr. Crandall, I know I need to do some weight management. And he looked at me and smiled. He said, no. He said, no, you don't. And for just a fleeting second, I thought, I'm okay. That's good. I'm okay. He said, no, John. He said, you don't need to do any weight management. He said, let me say something to you, John. He said, you're fat. And he said, fat people don't need to manage weight. He said, you need to lose weight. He said, and until you lose weight, we're not going to manage your weight. So don't talk about managing weight. We're going to lose weight, and then we can manage weight because you're fat. So I'm putting you on a diet, and you're going to lose weight. And he said, everybody loses weight on my diet. You're going to exercise an hour a day. You're going to get 1,600 calories. We're going to lose weight. The picture got real clear. Do you understand? I was no longer under weight management. You follow me? I wasn't just trying to hold on, manage. No. We're going to lose weight. Gave me a plan. Said, you're going to come see me every other day, and I'm going to put you on the scales, and we're going to make sure you lose weight. And then, guess what? When you get done losing the weight, guess what you get to do? Get to manage it. Thank you. Got the picture? Got the picture? In fact, the next time I went to see him, I had laminated a card and gave it to him. I put it on my desk. I can hardly wait to lose my weight so I can manage it. Picture got clear. Picture's got to get clear in your life. You see, you won't sacrifice for something that's fuzzy. You won't prioritize for something that's fuzzy. And can I tell you something? Your people won't follow you to wherever fuzzy is. You can't motivate people to follow you if you say, you know what, I'm going to take you somewhere. I'm not sure where it is. Just trust me. We'll make some U-turns, ask directions. But just stay right with me. No. They're not going to commit to you unless it's clear. They're not going to prioritize unless it's clear. Do I clearly see my tree? How you doing? 1 to 10? How clear is it? You don't have to see it all clear, but you got to see something about the dream that's clear enough that helps you motivate and prioritize. Question number 3. Before we do question number 3, how you doing? Are you learning something? Look at your neighbor and say, I'm learning something. Go ahead and tell them that. Go ahead and tell them that. Look back at him and say, not near enough yet. You're 8 questions away. You're not even close. Question number 3. The reality question. The reality question just simply asks, am I depending upon things within my control to reach my dream? That's a great question. Am I depending on things within my control to reach my dream? Or am I depending on things that are beyond my control, out of my control, remote at best to reach my dream. Now, isn't it interesting when you talk about a dream, something that is so inspirational and so kind of high, that now what am I doing? I'm saying, let's have reality. Here's why. Reality is the foundation of what great dreams are built on. Great dreams are built on reality. That's the foundation. Hey, and can I tell you something? The better your foundation, the higher you can go with your dream. In other words, if a foundation is shaky, you can't climb very high. So it's got to be solid. So before we can really ever build a great dream, before we can ever take off, we just got to ask ourselves, do I have a foundation? Do I have something which I can stand on that is firm and solid, that will really hold up this dream? A lot of people say, boy, you kind of messed up the dream talk when you started doing reality. Let me tell you something. You either get real in the beginning and base it on reality and then build it, or you'd start to build it and reality will knock it down. It's a great question. And am I depending on things within my control, or am I depending on a whole bunch of things that are way beyond my control somehow to fulfill my dream? Now, let me take a moment, and this is going to be the hardest part of the teaching this morning in the dream part. This is going to be the hardest part of the teaching because I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to go against what you and I both believe and were taught. But this is going to help you. Remember, my name's John, and I'm your friend. And I'm here to help you. When people talk about dreams, they get real sentimental. And there's a statement that people use in dreams that I've heard it hundreds of times, and you've heard it, and when I say it, in fact, I won't say it all. I'll start it, and you can finish it with me, because every one of you have heard it, and probably if you're like me, every one of you have bought into it. And the reason we're going to bring it up is because it's not true. And so what happens is if you buy into this and you believe this, it sabotages you and keeps you from ever achieving what you could achieve in your life. But we hear it all the time. We hear motivational speakers who will come to us and they'll start, the expression is, if you can believe it, you can what? Achieve it. See, you've all heard it. If you can believe it, you can achieve it. Hey. If you can believe it, you can achieve it. Yeah. Can you believe it? Do you believe? Oh, if you believe, you can achieve. I believe I can fly. You know, a pig's not going to fly no matter how long the runway. That's not true. If anybody tells you if you believe it, you can achieve it, they are setting you up for disappointment. It's not true. Now, do I believe that belief is important? I think belief is vital. I think you ought to buy in your dream and believe in your dream and believe in yourself. So no, I'm not anti-belief, but I'm here to tell you belief is not the main qualifier to achieve a dream. It never has been, never will be, and if you buy into it, you're going to be disappointed all your life. And I'm going to illustrate it right now, and all I need is one illustration, and every one of you will understand what I'm saying. What would happen if I looked at you today, and I said to you, I have a dream, and I want to share it with you. I believe I could be a world-class ballet dancer. Yeah, I really do. I get my tutu this afternoon. Going to take ballet lessons. Yeah, going to take ballet lessons. I got a bar down in my basement to put my leg up on. So I can do my stretches. Sir, that was uncalled for back there. You got to understand timing. This lady understands timing up here. You don't understand timing, or you're completely out of line. Of course you would laugh, sir. Every one of you are laughing. You know why you're laughing? Because I don't have the body to be a ballet dancer. I don't have the grace to be a ballet dancer. I'm clumsy. My wife says I'm the only person who can walk across the living room and carry a coffee table with me and not even know it. I can't twirl. And you want demonstrations, don't you? You're saying just demonstrate your incompetence. Now, can I tell you something? I could believe that I'm going to be a ballet dancer in world class. Can I tell you? It won't matter. I do not have the gifts within me to be a ballet dancer. I could tell you I want to be an opera singer. Doesn't matter. I believe. There's a problem. I can't sing. I watch people all the time believe that they can do something that is not within their gift mix. And they set themselves up for disappointment. I could still be taking piano lessons, folks. I really could. I could still be taking piano lessons. Can I tell you, it doesn't matter if I take piano lessons for 55 years. I don't have musical gifts. I'm still going to be plunking the chopsticks. And Elaine Mosley is going to be playing better than me. She has the gift, I don't. Now listen to me carefully. To achieve your dream, you want to match your passion with your giftedness. And one will not substitute for the other. If you're passionate about something you're not gifted in, the great news is you'll be enthusiastic all your life about being average. If you're gifted in something that you're not passionate about, the good news is you'll have a gift that will never be developed. You've got to have both. And you've got to always consider the fact that your dream must be within pretty much your control. Your giftedness, your opportunities, and your choices. And that's what controls the whole setting of concerning your dream and can you achieve it and will you get there. And when you match that giftedness up, what you can do, and by the way, you've got to concentrate on your strengths, not your weaknesses. No one has ever become great by working on their weaknesses. They've only become great by working on their strengths. Somebody said, why should I not work on my weaknesses in the area of giftedness and ability? It's very simple, because you're weak in your weaknesses. In other words, you aren't any good. Okay? So you've got to find your strengths, things within your control, and that's where you spend your time, and that's where you work. Question number 4 is the cost question. Simply, am I willing to pay the price for the dream? Because there's a price that the dream that you have is going to exact from you. Now, in the beginning, dreams are fun. And do you know why dreams are fun in the beginning? I mean, you sit there around the table and you talk about where you would like to go or what you would like to do or what you would like to become. And it's so much fun because you get with your friends. You say, wouldn't it be wonderful if we did this? Or maybe we'll do this together as a team. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we went there? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we became that? And dreams are fun in the beginning. Let me tell you why dreams are fun in the beginning. Dreams are fun in the beginning because in the beginning, dreams are free. There's no cost. You can sit anywhere you want to and dream, and as long as you don't move toward the dream or act on the dream, as long as it's just in your mind, it's absolutely free. It has to get out of your mind and into your feet before it costs you something. You got to start taking steps. Now, the moment that you and I start moving in our dream, the moment that we start going toward that dream, the price immediately is exacted upon us. And let me tell you something about the price. The price will be higher than you think. You say, how do you know that? Because I know that. It's always higher. I've not had any person ever tell me that success was easier than they thought it would be. I've never had anybody say, you know what, it's amazing. I thought I was going to have to work hard, and I didn't even hardly work, and here I am. I've already gotten there. It's just the most amazing thing. The price will be higher than you think. So whatever you think the price is, understand it'll be more. Secondly, you'll have to pay the price quicker than you think. Because you kind of think, well, you know, if I really go for this, someday I'm going to probably have to give up this or sacrifice this or give that time commitment for that. No. Can I tell you something? As soon as you start moving, that meter starts running, and the price is immediate, sooner than you think. And the price is not only quicker than you think. Can I tell you something else about the price? You keep having to pay it. I naively thought that once I paid the price for the dream, then I could just enjoy the dream. I didn't realize that the price you always pay. That there's no such thing as the fact I've paid now my dues, and now for the rest of my life I'd like to live off the fruit of the land. You just keep paying. Can I tell you, going toward your dream is living like driving on an eternal toll road. Down in Florida we have toll roads, especially around Orlando. All you people come down to Disney World, we make you pay. You get out of the airport and you go 2 miles and there's a toll booth. And you pay that and you say, well, okay, thank God, paid that. And you know what, you go 2 miles, there's another toll booth. Instead of getting it from you all at once, they just say, we'll just dribble it out of you until you have no more and you have to go home. Thank you very much. The dream journey is an eternal toll booth road. And you pay and you pay and you pay. Now, when I talk about the price of the dream, there's something I have to have integrity with you, and I have to be open and honest with you about the price of the dream. It's possible to pay too much for the dream. It really is. I see it all the time. I see people give up their health for the dream. I see people give up their values for a dream. I see people give up their family for a dream. You can pay too much. You really can't. So you have to have a real sense of understanding of what you're willing to pay for your dream. About 15, 18 years ago, there was a kind of a Christian movement called Promise Keepers in America, where men would go into stadiums, and it was kind of a wonderful thing. Didn't last long, but it was a wonderful thing. And I had the privilege. I did a lot of speaking in stadiums. I was one of the main speakers for Promise Keepers events around the country. And there was a simple rule that if you were going to speak at a stadium event, that with the team that was going to speak at that stadium event, you'd have to get together for a day to kind of coordinate what you're going to speak on, make sure everybody was on the same team, and just spend time together, thinking together, praying together, dreaming together. And it was just a very good rule that we had. And so you kind of had a prep meeting, then you'd go to the stadium event. And when we came up to the big event in Washington, D.C. a few years ago, the Million Leader event, Million Man event in the park, I was one of the selected speakers. And so we had to meet in Denver for 2 days and kind of lay out how we were going to lay out our assignments and talk. And so I flew to Denver, and I got to Denver, and I called my wife, Margaret, and our son, Joel, was 16 at the time. And I called her, and she said, you know, Joel's not doing good. I said, what's wrong? I had his first serious girlfriend, and she broke up with him, and she said, he's really reacting bad. And I said, well, you know, I think I'll just turn around and come home. She said, no, I don't I pray for him, but I don't want you to do that, because you got to go to the meeting, so you can speak for 1 million to 1 million men in Washington, D.C. I said, no. I think I'm coming home. I think Joel needs me. So I called the leader of the Promise Keepers group. I told Coach, said, Coach, I need to go home. My son needs me. And just got the call. And I'm just going to turn around, jump on the next plane, go back to Atlanta. That's where we lived at the time. And he said, John, you know that that'll mean you won't. I said, I know. It's okay. It's no problem. No deal. Find somebody. She'll do good. Tell the guys I'm sorry. Got to go home and see my boy. So I went home, spent 2 days with Joel. Didn't do a lot. We played golf together and didn't talk a lot first day. And I just hung with him, and finally he opened up and had a great 2 days with him. What I didn't know is the leader went to all the other speakers, said, John's not here. He's got to be home. He wanted to go back home. His son kind of needed him, so he decided. So it kind of gave him a little bit of background. I think it was Max and Cato stood up. Max said, well, good night. We ought to all go home. And that's okay. We all got family issues that are needy and important. And so what I didn't know is they voted to go ahead and let me speak in Washington, D.C. anyway, even though I missed the meeting. They give me my assignment. And so Coach Mack called me and said, look, I'm going to fly to Atlanta. I got something exciting to tell you. So we went to lunch. He said, the guy said, you can still speak. And of course, this was a big thing. Not very many people in their lifetime get to speak in the capital of a nation to 1 million people. And when he said I could go, I looked at him and said, no, I can't go. He said, what do you mean you can't go? The guys voted you can't. I said, no. I said, my son knows what I gave up to come back home. And if I now would go back and speak, I would take off the table my unconditional love for him. And I want him to always know that he's more important than any speaking gig that I'll ever have. So I said, we'll come. I'll bring him. I'll bring my son-in-law. We'll come. We'll be in the group with 1 million men. We'll be out there with you. But I said, I'm not going to come. Now my son Joel's got 3 beautiful children, great wife, great marriage, great dad. And if you ask him, what was the turning point in his relationship with me, he would tell you that instantly. Now, I want to also tell you, I wasn't always that great of a dad. I didn't make every good decision, okay? So I got to tell you that because I don't want you to think I did all the good decisions. I made some real lousy decisions too, okay? I learned a long time ago, if you want to impress people, talk about your success. If you want to impact people, talk about your failures. But here's what I am saying. You can pay too high of a price for your dream. Don't lose it. Don't lose it. Yes, sir. Yes.
I need to, you just talked about failure, mistakes.
Yes.
I made one.
What did you make?
You're supposed to be done at 10:30 rather than 10:45.
Oh, okay.
So that's my mistake here.
Okay.
So
Well,
when you can wrap,
I'll wrap.
it's all my fault.
Oh, no,
I
no,
also
that's-
had my van parked where nobody could get the buses in, so I did 2 things wrong today.
Okay.
So,
Well, you get 3 strikes. You're still alive, okay?
you
Okay.
can kind of do a wrap, and then
Okay.
if you let me tell them a few things after
It's
that.
kind of being led by Mr. Magoo, isn't it, huh? I call her amazing. Her name's Grace, but I just call her Amazing Grace. She's always amazes me, and you amaze me again this year. You are a beautiful person. In fact, Grace is one of the reasons we're all here, so thank you very much. And yes, I could, you know what, thanks for telling me that. I can wrap that up in 15 minutes. We'll shorten the break because there is one thing I got to tell him, and I thought I had the time to, so give me, can I have 5 more minutes? Okay, good, good, thank you. Notice I didn't look at Grace when I asked that. There's a question I got to deal with you, and it's the tenacity question. And it's just simply ask, am I moving closer to my dream? You see, you judge success of the dream not by achieving it, by getting closer to it. Am I tenacious, and am I closer to the dream today than I was last year? Okay? Now, I tell you that because I want to teach you the rule of 5. Because the most important thing I can teach you in this whole session, and I'm very sorry because I'm going to condense it now, is the rule of 5. Because if you can grasp the rule of 5 in your life, I will promise you, it'll take you more on your dream journey toward the achievement than anything else that I can give you. The rule of 5 is very simple. If you have a tree in your backyard that you want to cut down, and you have an axe, If every day you go out to that tree and pick up the axe and 5 times you swing at the tree and then you put the axe back down. The next day you go out to the backyard and you pick up the axe, you swing 5 times at the tree and you put the axe down. The next day you pick up the axe, swing 5 times at the tree, you put the axe down. If every day you swing that axe 5 times at that tree, let me ask you a question. What is eventually going to happen to that tree? What's it going to do? It's going to fall down. That isn't up for debate, is it? If you just do that every day, now if it's a little tree, it'll fall down maybe in a week, I don't know, a few days. If it's a big tree, maybe it's going to take months. It could take a year, maybe, I don't know, maybe take 3 or 4 years. I don't know, but here's what I know. If you take the axe and 5 times a day, you just 5 times a day, you swing at that tree, eventually the tree will fall. Now let me apply that to your dream. Once you know what your dream is, what you really want to accomplish, you need to develop a rule of 5. Something that you do every day. You see, the rule, when I swung the axe 5 times at the tree, I didn't swing 50 times a day, I just did 5 times. The key wasn't how many times you do in one day, the key is you do it every day, consistently, 5 times. And what you need to do is once you get your dream, you need to ask yourself, what is my rule of 5 with the dream that's going to allow me to achieve that dream tenaciously and get there? And it's the most important exercise you're ever going to do in your life for your dream, the rule of 5. For example, I had a dream. Back in 1979, I wrote my first book, and I said, I would like to be an author, not because I want to write books. I want to be an author so I can develop my influence beyond myself. I want to go beyond myself, and so I'm going to write books. And so I began to develop a rule of 5. Now, it took me 6 years to get my 5 things, okay? This is not an easy issue. This is not an easy project. I promise you the first couple you'll get quickly, but if you've got to get five things that you do every day that's going to ensure the success of that dream. 5 things. So in my line of work, writing books, here's my rule of 5. Every day I read. Every day I think. Every day I file. Every day I ask questions. And every day I write. Every day I read. Every day I think. Every day I file. Every day I ask questions. Every day I write. Every day I read. Every day I think. Every day I ask questions. Every day I file. Every day I write. Every day I read. Every day I think. Every day I file. Every day I ask questions. Every day I write. Every day I read. Every day I file. Every day I think. Every day I ask questions. Every day I write. You say, John, what do you mean by every day? What I mean is every day I read. Every day I think. Every day I file. Every day I ask questions. Every day I write. Now you say, when you say every day, do you mean every day? What I mean is every day I read, every day I file, every day I think, every day I ask questions, every day I write. You say okay, every day. So you mean every day. On Christmas, what do you do on Christmas? On Christmas, I read. On Christmas, I think. I file, I ask questions. What do you do on your birthday? On my birthday, I read. I think. Ask questions. File. Write. Every day. You see, I've been filing since I was 17. I'm 63. I don't have hundreds of quotes and ideas and stories. I don't have thousands. I have tens of thousands. How can you have tens of thousands? Well, guess what I do? Every day. Every day I file. Now, you need to develop a rule of 5. You need to look at your dream, and then you need to say, okay, what is it that I need to do every day? Because the secret of your success, the secret of my success, is determined by my daily agenda. What is it that I do every day that is so important that it's going to inevitably, through tenaciousness and consistency, allow me to reach my dream? It's the most important project I'll give you all day. Trust me. What's your dream? What's your rule of 5? I have a nonprofit organization, Equip, that trains leaders in 144 nations. Now we've trained over 4 million leaders. We have a rule of 5 for Equip. 5 things that we do every day. And what you'll find is when you find and discover your rule of 5, it is absolutely amazing what can happen, okay? Now, let me tell you, during the break time, the Dream Test, books back there, this is a daily reader of leadership and success called the Maxwell Daily Reader. It's available for you back there. Pick it up. I'll sign it. My newest book, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. Boy, if that's not the truth. A lot of people are talking, but nobody's home. I teach you in this book how to connect, because the most important thing that you can learn in life to be successful is how to connect with others. 5 connecting principles, 5 connecting practices. It's also a training and developing DVD audio training program. So if you want to teach on how to connect with people, it's there. And then the Maxwell Leadership Bible, the most important thing I've ever done in my life. I pastored for 25 years. Over 600 leadership lessons in the Bible. Every time you turn a page, every chapter, basically, there's another leadership lesson for you to go. So if you love the Bible, if you're a person of faith, and you love leadership, this is just like a spiritual, boy, and what a huge Christmas gift this would be for people who love God, have faith, and also want to learn leadership. And so I'll sign the book and put Merry Christmas on it. One more thing. We have a monthly CD club that about 85,000 people every month listen to across America. It's called the Maximum Impact Club, and there should be this somewhere in your folder. I don't know. Where is it? Is it on your seat? Did you have this? Were they at the door? Did they get it? Okay. You have it. If you want to be my monthly CD club, if you'll fill this out today, we have a special offer. If you fill it out, every month you'll get a CD that'll be on leadership or on success or relationships, kind of the 4 things I talked about. Today, if you sign up on this and join the club, we'll give you a $100 value, a lecture that I do called How to Be a Real Success with the 4 things I shared with you earlier. It's a lecture with a workbook, and it's available to you, and it's back there. During the break, I'll sit right here and I'll sign. Hope you learned something. Thank you very much. Blessings on you.